I just wanted to make sure he was okay, right? I saw him get hit with the big shots, but I think that you can see, for me, I see his legs was a little off, but I really wasn't. But then you think about it, the doctor's right here with me, and we're talking back and forth, and they're looking at him, and I'm looking at the doctors, and we're talking. So it's like, you know, not really, but you just never know. It's really kind of like do our best to take away what he was doing instead of kind of standing in front of him. But I think that like you can notice, well, I can notice his time was off really bad, and he was standing in front of him. So I think that that's kind of was the thing, was just the timing. Reaction time was a little slower, but it's okay. It's like life, and come back, you deal with it, and you get better. I really.
Those are the words of Derrick James, and that's his explanation on why he didn't stop the fight. And to my understanding, my counterpunch is he didn't stop the fight because the doctor didn't, but the referee did. And see, what we know from what Derrick James said was that, for one, he didn't have his feet right. Okay, his timing was off. And if he was talking back and forth to the doctor, what the hell was he talking about? Like, yeah, he was talking and forth, but I mean, it got worse after that. Errol Spence didn't get any better. It got gradually worse. After the second round, the second knockdown, they were looking at Errol Spence. You know, they gave him the PBC, what was they call it? The PBC privilege program. You know, when he started, after the bell ring, ding, ding, then they pulled him to the side and asked him if he was okay. Like, you know, you're supposed to do that while he's in the corner. It's not a good look for Derrick James. And like I promised you guys, I would do a video about Derrick James and what he had to say. And based on what he said was, well, he was standing in front of him, and his feet wasn't, or his legs weren't where they supposed to be, and his timing was off. Well, when your timing is off, and your legs are not under you, and you're getting hit again and again and again, when should you stop the fight? Next question is, when was Derrick James planning on stopping that damn fight? When the doctor did? See, that's not a good look for Derrick James, because it's almost like how I'm hearing it. It comes off to me as though Derrick James is trying to convince the doctor not to stop it. Like you said, me and the doctor were going back and forth. Well, that doesn't mean anything. You guys could have been going back and forth, and you could have been pleading with the doctor, like, see, he just threw a punch in. See, he's fine. See, he's this and that. And you're just trying to keep him in the fight. But while he was in the fight, he was getting more and more damaged as that fight went on. So that's how it comes off to me. I could be wrong, but it didn't look good that he wasn't the guy that knew his fighter. See, when you know your fighter, you know this ain't where he's supposed to be, and I'm stopping the fight. Now we go and take a look back at not the last knockout that Terrence Crawford had, the one before that, based on another fighter that never got stopped. Who was that? Sean Porter. And what happened? Shout out to Kenny Porter. He stopped the fight. You know why he stopped the fight? Because he knew, my son is not going to win this fight in the 10th round by getting knocked down twice. There haven't been any knockdowns up until that point. Sean Porter is giving Terrence Crawford all that he can handle. So he's had his pound of flesh. He's dealt with the toughest things that he can deal with, being Sean Porter. Okay, so he knows what's up, and he knew what was up. So instinctively, he stopped the fight. Like Kenny Porter told me personally, I stopped the fight because my son wasn't fighting the way I used to seeing him fight, and I haven't seen him hurt like that like any other fight. Okay? He told me that personally. And neither was Errol Spence, but here's the problem. Why couldn't Derrick James discern that his fighter had no business no longer being in there with Terrence Crawford. That's the problem. And again, he's like, well, the doctor was right there. So basically, you're saying that you and the doctor were going back and forth. So is it fair to say that because the doctor was there, that's just you saying, well, shit, the doctor was there. What do you want from me? What do you want from me? The doctor was there. He could have stopped it if he wanted it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, in other words, throwing him the responsibility of being the doctor. That's basically what he was doing. So if that's what he's doing, and if he's taking all the responsibility and throwing it in the hands of the doctor, that's saying, you know what? That's throwing your integrity right out of the window as well, because you should have had a mind to say, you know what? I don't like the way he looks either. Let's stop this. Harvey Doc shouldn't have stopped that fight. Derrick James should have. But to me, of course, if he was talking back and forth from a guy that's constantly getting his ass whooped, guess what? He was trying to convince that guy to keep Errol in there, to keep getting beat. Because it was a nothing that he learned. It was like, well, you could take away the things that he's doing. Well, it wasn't anything that he took away. Errol Spence didn't make any adjustments. Why do you think Antonio Tarver went off? Well, he wants a job, but why do you think he went off? Because there was nothing that changed for Errol Spence for the better. We always knew he was tough. That's how he got fan favored, because of the way he can take shots and give them back. Tenfold or doublefold. So we know that about Errol Spence. We don't have to be convinced that he's tough. But what we don't need to see is one guy beat the shit out of the other guy, and the trainer's okay with that. See, if anything, in a perfect world, if the trainer is instructing him to do certain things in the ring, and he's not doing them, and he's taking punishment for doing so, that's grounds to stop the fight, because he's not doing what you tell him to do to protect himself, to keep himself safe. That's it. But like people said, and I think this had a lot to do with self. I think it had a lot to do with selfishness. And I think it had a lot to do with selfishness and being that person, Derrick James. Derrick James didn't want to stop that fight because he did not want to know how it would reflect. Okay? He didn't want it to reflect how he trained, because it would make him look worse. He would make him look like the guy that doesn't know what the hell he's doing. But if you keep sending a guy out there round after round after round and he's getting beat up, what would you expect people to say if he's not making improvements and you're the guy that's training him to hopefully guide him or help him or prep him to make those adjustments or improvements? Counterpunch. So, no. Derrick James, the decision for him to keep that fight going, yeah, I question that quite a bit. Not him being a good trainer, but then here's the thing. That's linked from being a good trainer. Or is that linked to being a shitty person? Does he have the ability to do his job versus his ability to make sound decisions, being a human, decent man? That's the question you ask yourself. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think of Derrick James's explanation on why he didn't stop the fight. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace!